of all,
you
was the weapon formed against me in the first place.
She did not call you the weapon.
You moved my mic.
And nobody moved your mics.
So you pretty much saying she tried to set you up.
She
That's
did.
what you're saying.
She tried to sabotage.
Oh, okay.
But the Lord.
Welcome back to another episode. I'm Vanessa.
I'm Z.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Tamika. We're just so excited to be here with you guys. To all of our old subscribers, what's up? Thank you for rocking with us. And welcome to all of our new subscribers.
If you haven't done so already, please follow us on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, all of that. No, Threads. You know what it is. Follow us.
Threads is the new Twitter.
Right.
And don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and don't forget to leave comments below. Tell us where you're watching from, and also don't forget to leave cool ideas for us to discuss in our upcoming videos.
Okay, so I have a question for the girlies. Y'all ready?
What's the question?
All right, before we get into this episode, I do have a question. I want each of you to tell me, what is something that is bringing you joy in life in this season right now?
That's a good question. I can go first.
Okay.
I think just spending time with my family is bringing me a lot of joy. My parents are very supportive of us starting this ministry, and it's just great to see them. Like, I had to make them a I don't want to call it a fake Instagram because it's a real Instagram, but they don't use it. But I had to like make them little fake pages on every social media account so that they can follow because they're just so excited. So I think that's definitely bringing me joy. Like this week in this season, they're really supportive, and like they be having questions like, why is this? So why does this look like this? Or, I think I liked it, but I don't see the red heart. And I'm like, okay, let me
let me give you a little rundown of how this works.
That's nice.
But that's my parents. They're just supportive in everything that I do, and I appreciate them. And I'm trying to enjoy as much as possible because I know like I'm not always going to be like in the house with them. Right. So
yeah, savoring that season.
Yeah, that's nice.
What about for me? I guess I'll go since
you stepped into another chapter.
Right. So for those that are just listening in or tuning in for the first time, I am a newlywed.
Yes.
So I guess for me in the season, of course, being a new wife, enjoying this new season. Like it's a lot of newness that I'm enjoying, our friendship that's been flourishing, new friendships that are forming. And also too, I think I've also been more, not saying I wasn't appreciative of before, but just like more appreciative of like family. I've definitely grown in another season with my parents and just being a wife now and having my own household. So that has brought on a new form of joy and closeness. So I'll say that's what's bringing joy for me in this season right now.
Nice.
For me, I would say it's the community.
Nice.
Especially this past week, I was fighting for my life.
Wow.
And just knowing that I can call on you guys to just say, I need some prayer.
Right.
And that's been very helpful. And yeah, so I just hope everybody gets that.
Experience
Even
that.
if it's just like watching us or communicating and engaging with us. Like, I just hope that and wish that for everyone.
Yeah.
Right. What about you, Tamika?
For me, it's kind of similar to what Jess said. I am really enjoying this season of marriage in my life. I'm enjoying my husband. We had just come out of a little tribulation. We can talk about that at a different time in this testimony hour, but we just came out of a 3-month-long tribulation. And I think now that we're back on schedule and things are kind of feeling normal again, it's just been really nice to like go on little dates and just kind of do things that, we're kind of absent for a little bit.
Right.
So I'm enjoying that. But what I'm really enjoying also in this season is being able to use my creativity like so actively, like so much. I naturally like doing video and editing and things like that. And getting busy in this way has really just like ignited that inspiration and that passion again. So that's been really good for me.
That's good. And it's so important to have joy in some some way, shape, or form.
Right.
Because life is hard.
Right.
So
And
whether
life be lifing.
so whether that's family, friends, whether that's being creative,
Right.
whether that's going to church, it's important that we're always finding little ways to keep our sanity.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
Let
it's
us
rough.
know what's bringing you guys joy
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this season. We'd love to hear about it, comment
Yeah,
it.
that's
And that
good.
way you can inspire someone else as well that they might be thinking, oh, yeah, you know what? That is something that brings
Yeah.
me joy. So, yeah, let us know what brings you joy in this season at
Yeah.
this current moment of your
And
life.
I forgot to, we can make a video later, but just for the followers that are watching, if you have any prayer requests, go on our website and on the top right hand corner, you can click the drop down box and it goes into like a prayer request. You can put your name and your email address, and then you can put whatever you're going through, just so that we're praying like with you. We're standing in the
Specifically,
gap.
right.
Yeah. And, just know that it's a safe space. Like, we're not posting it anywhere. We're not using it for anything. This is just specifically so that we can stand with you. And I don't think we mentioned that on any of our socials, but I want the people to know we got our first couple of prayer requests, and I guess that's from them just going and, looking around. But I just wanted to say, because life is life.
Right.
Life is life.
Adulthood is very ghetto.
Yeah.
It's not
very
what I
ghetto.
thought it would be at all.
Yeah.
Like,
and-
I would give anything to go play outside and drink out the hose.
Right.
And
And
just
just
like
have a
mom.
care in the world.
Not
Only
a
go
care.
to school
Right.
yeah.
and do well. That's it. I would love to go back to those days.
Yeah. Womanhood is different.
It's a journey.
Right.
It's different.
That I like that, Tamika.
It's literally.
It's a journey. It's a journey.
Yeah, and it's important that we're incorporating healthy ways, like to be women,
Yeah.
right? What are some healthy ways that we can incorporate being a woman, a Proverbs 31 woman?
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
not the Proverbs 31 woman, because
Yeah.
a lot of people, this is such a heavy,
That's
a heavy weight.
I won't
So,
say
yeah.
Proverbs 31, but definitely boundaries. I think a lot of times we feel like we can take on everything, and it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, I don't have the capacity for that right now, and still be excellent in everything else. You don't have to do everything to be a Proverbs 31
Right,
woman.
right.
You don't have to be everything to everyone, but just being excellent in the areas that you're able to give. I
Right,
think
for sure.
that is
I've been
important.
like, I saw on Threads the other day, and someone was like, I think it was like, what would you tell someone who's coming out of their 20s going into 30s, like, what would you tell them? And then for me, I was like, you get really intentional about how you live your life.
Right.
Like, you don't just do any and everything like you used to before in your 20s. Like, you really put thought and effort into like, okay, is this even worth it? Should I even do this? So you get really intentional as you get in your 30s. Like, do I miss my 20s? Absolutely not. 20s were
Ghetto.
ghetto.
Yeah.
So I'm really loving my 30s and just how the Lord has been evolving me and growing me,
refining,
and
yeah.
going back to what Vanessa says in this season. Well, I'm learning boundaries, and I love it here.
Yeah.
Love
I
it.
like the
love it here.
boundaries.
Yes, I'm loving it. Really respecting my boundaries in this
Good.
season.
Yeah.
I'm fluent in no.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
That's excellent. Very
I'm
good.
like, no.
Very good.
I'm like,
Very
no.
good.
No. Upale, no. No. Yeah, exactly. No. Just no.
One aspect of the Proverbs 31 woman that always always convicts me is the laziness aspect, or the not being lazy aspect, because it is so easy to fall into like a routine, especially during the week. If you have like a job that's Monday through Friday, a certain time, it's so easy to like just go home and kind of do the same thing you do every day. But one thing that I admire about the Proverbs 31 woman that I'm always aspiring to do is to be more proactive on the things that need to get done, and not waiting to the last minute. So that procrastination spirit, my sisters know me well, that spirit, that waiting to the very last minute to get something done, is something that I'm always striving to keep up with. And I will tell you, it does help with mental health, being that organized. It helps you feel like you're clearer, you're not in a rush. So when I am consistent, I notice the benefits, but working on it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that just shows that everybody's different, because
Yeah.
boy, I am very like orderly.
Yeah.
So if it's coming up to the wire and it's not done, I'm like, it's not gonna get
Disheveled.
done.
Right.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. And meanwhile, like sis be like,
Yeah, that pressure
shine.
That pressure inspires me. I'm ready to go.
11:59.
11:59.
So when you think about like the Proverbs 31 woman, like what do you think it entails? Because we know when it comes to like as a woman in your health, it comes, boil down to like your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, and like your spiritual health. So when you read through Proverbs 31 women, like what parts resonate with you when it comes to like your overall well-being and being able to thrive in all of those capacities? Like, how do you think like Proverbs 31 woman will, thrive in her emotional health or her mental health and vice versa?
I think overall, like when we're in a plane, they say like, save yourself first, put your life vest on first. I think the essence of a Proverbs 31 woman is making sure we're good and whole. And like that goes with mental health, that goes with like being physical and making sure that we're healthy, we're eating right, so that we can care for the other people that are that we have to care for.
Right, because they always say, you can't pour out if your glass is half empty or if you are not loving yourself first. I think oftentimes we get that like misconstrued, like, oh, I need to pour into everyone else first before I pour into myself. But you there's nothing to pour if you're not, of course, first filling yourself up with, with the Lord and with the Holy Spirit, so that way you can now in turn and be that excellent woman, like, on all cylinders that the Lord has called us to be.
Yeah, and I think that's good because a lot of women are trying to juggle so many things. A lot of times they neglect themselves, especially in the physical aspect. Like I talk to women all the time and they don't go to the doctor regularly because they have 3 kids and 2 jobs and it's just so many things. But like physical health is important, making sure that you're going to the doctor annually to make sure that, everything is operating properly because there's so many things that a woman's body goes through. We have to make sure that we're good. I know that this is breast cancer month. So shout out to all of the survivors, anybody that's going through anything, we're praying with you. Are there any physical ailments that you guys are going through or have gone through that you think would be able to help somebody?
For me, I like to talk about, when we're talking about these topics, we spoke about Hannah and we spoke about the faith that it took and the trust in God that it took for her to produce when she was on her journey of producing or carrying a child. Her and her husband at the time, Elkanah, I think was his name, were carrying or praying for a child at that time. And what's so important about that is that because now we can have a different perspective, but in those days, a woman not bearing a child was almost like, is she cursed? What's wrong with her? Like, and a man could actually divorce you. Like if you
weren't able to conceive, right?
We're not able to conceive. Now we look at it a lot different, but I just wanted to point out how crucial it was for Hannah to actually produce, and her faith and her crying out to God eventually allowed her to produce. For myself, I've been married for 6 years. 7 years next August. I've been married for 6 years. And I want to say the large majority of our marriage together, we've been believing God for a child. It hasn't happened yet. And I want to say in the beginning of this, I don't want to call it a struggle, but in the beginning of this journey of wanting to conceive, I really just relied on, okay, whenever it's supposed to happen, it'll just kind of happen. But let me tell you, the importance of community is when you start sharing these things that you're vulnerable about and you're very close to your heart, when you start sharing these things with people you trust, they can remind you that there are resources and there are other ways to go about this instead of just having faith and having big faith is important. But God has also given us physical things that we can put in place to help us along this journey. Faith without works, like you just said, is dead. So being in community allowed me to say, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't just like pray it away. Like maybe I should just pray through this. Maybe I should physically go and see and go look. And I think it ties right back to when we're talking about physical health. Even when you have struggles like, you're wanting to produce a child or even just regular daily, my body hurts all the time, whatever kind of struggles you have, whatever is happening in your body, just knowing that you can believe God to bring you through and putting your trust in God. But if it doesn't happen, you have to believe that God is still faithful. You have to believe that God is still good. You have to believe that anything that happens or doesn't happen is in his will.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of affirmations as we traveling that we hold on to.
And it's hard. Infertility is so common right now.
Yeah,
It seems like every
is.
time you go on social media or you watch TV, we're talking about infertility and IVF and things like that.
Yeah.
And in doing research for this episode, I went and I was asking, like, you know, who are all of the people that went through infertility issues in the Bible? And it wasn't just Sarah. It was Rebecca. It was Rachel. It was Ruth. It was like infertility was a thing.
Right.
God
You know
was
what I'm
so
saying?
intentional.
And for all of them, they were able to bear children. So I think that we just have to keep the faith.
That's it.
Make sure that we're doing what we need to be doing.
That's it.
Yeah.
Going to the doctors and things like that. That's so important.
Taking care of your physical health, like you said, checking up on yourself, and just believing God. Those two things coupled together would line up with what God wants us to do.
Hebrews 11:11 says, by faith, Abraham received power to generate, even though he was past the normal age. And Sarah herself was sterile, for he thought that the one who made the promise was trustworthy. And so if he made that promise,
That's right.
he's going to come through.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're definitely, of course, you know, we're believing with you and standing with
100%,
you,
100%.
in agreement with you, and even all those women out there that are still believing for a child and for the Lord to open your womb.
Yeah.
We are definitely praying for you, and we are definitely believing and standing with you, because I know it can get tough. I know it can be a season of weariness and asking the Lord, like, you know, like, is this a part of the plan?
Yeah.
But he is faithful enough to see you guys through. And I know there might be other options that people may have to explore. But at the end of the day, it's God's plan and God's will. So,
and how does it make you feel, like, when people, it could be your family, it could be your friends, it could be, you know, you going on social media and seeing everybody with a child, or somebody coming up to you asking you, when are you going to have children? When are you going to have children? And this isn't just for you, sis. This is for everybody. Like, that's a mental struggle.
Oh, yeah.
How do we overcome that? And why do people think that it's okay?
It's the audacity.
Yeah.
I had, even in like my position at work, like I was told at certain times, oh, you wouldn't understand because you don't have kids. And I think when I was younger, it didn't bother me, but the older I got, the more offended I found myself. And it's not that I envied anybody's situation. And it's not that I felt like what they're saying is true. But it was more so, God, when is it my turn?
Right.
And a lot of times I can think that, but then I have to remind myself that God's timing is perfect.
Right.
And the things that I wanted, maybe when I was in my 20s or early 30s, I'm still in my early 30s, y'all.
Just in case.
Don't get it twisted. But that might not have been what God wanted for me. And when I look back, sometimes I'm like, ooh, I'm glad I didn't get the things that I wanted at the time.
Yeah. So what do we say to those, what I was trying to say earlier, to like those family members or those friends? Like, how can we gently tell them, like, leave me alone? You're hurting my feelings. Like, you know, a lot of people, they'll come up to you, like family who don't know your situation. They'll come up to you and say, hey, when are you having kids? Why don't you have any kids yet?
Right.
And sometimes it's because we don't want to have kids, but most of the time it's, you know, not a lack of trying.
There we go. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So how can we gently,
Especially being married.
say leave me alone?
I think it's important to say exactly what you mean, like to have that conversation the best way you can. You don't want to be rude and come off kind of like snappy about it. But I think it's important to say, because we spoke about this in a different episode, but sometimes people don't really realize like how their words are impacting you or affecting you. A good example is like in my culture, Jamaican culture, that's the first thing. You're married, that's within the first month they're expecting you to report back and be like, okay, you know. And so as a family, as people in that culture, they just naturally, so when's the baby's coming? You know, I'm like, well, when are you having baby? Oh, I don't see no and it's I don't think they have any ill intent behind it, but we as a culture have to take responsibility for what we're saying to people and how we're saying it to people. And I think if we just took a second to realize that, oh, wait a minute, I know this couple wants children. They don't have children yet. There must be something going on here. Even if it's not the fact that that we're not producing yet. What if it's the fact that we don't feel financially responsible? What if it's, you know, it could be so many things, and saying those kind of things without thinking about that can be kind of harmful. So I would just say, have that conversation. Maybe they don't understand how it's affecting you, and just one away, just tell them, listen, we're trying.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll understand.
Yeah.
And it's a ignorance too, because for the people who are saying these things, because the prevalence of like the struggles of infertility that's all over social media, at some point you have to be sensitive to somebody like, I don't really want to even ask, do you want kids?
Right,
Because it's not just whether they want it or not.
Right. Right.
And I want to go into like some underlying conditions that may,
For sure.
Definitely, if you are struggling to have a child, or if you are irregular in your periods or anything like that, I would definitely recommend going to see an endocrinologist, because there are so many like hormonal imbalances are so common. Like it could be endometriosis, it can be Hashimoto's, it could be PCOS. Like there's so many things. It could be thyroid issues. And if you go to the endocrinologist, you can take medication, you can have some type of herb therapy. There's answers. But if you're just at home, you know what I'm saying? And you're going through this and you have no resources, that's a problem. I have PCOS and it's rough. And I know that when I'm not managing my symptoms, it gets bad. Like there was a time where I didn't have my period for 2 years. Wow. And it was partially my fault, because when I didn't see my period for the first couple of months, I should have taken my behind to the endocrinologist to see like, okay, how are my hormones out of whack now? Is it my testosterone level that's high? Is it my adrenal glands that's high? What is high, so that I can figure out a way to get it down? And I think that a lot of people don't go into the doctor to see like what the root cause is. They're just like, oh, well, this is just happening. It'll go away by itself. And a lot of times it will not go away by itself.
People rely on their primary care physician too. The primary care physician doesn't always know the specialties of and the specifics of the
certain
women
things,
reproductive system.
They just have like a general idea. But if you need specificities, right? That's where then you would want to see.
Yes, that wasn't it.
That wasn't it. Well, you get the gist, but it's just actually seeing a specialist. I guess for me, I haven't really, thank the Lord, I haven't really struggled with any health challenges. But I would say for me, especially in this season, now that I'm a newlywed, I am not 30 years old. So it's like, I guess this is my first time actually sharing this, but I guess I'll share it. It's like more so like of the fear of actually getting pregnant and like my age, because they start considering you geriatric, and the Lord's like, I ain't that old. But it's like all of that starts to come into play. It's like at one point in my life, I thought I was going to be like 24, 25, married, already done with kids already. And I'm like now going to be, what am I, 34 now? I'll be 35 next year. So it's like kind of that starts playing in your head.
Of course.
So it's more so now it's like trying to like bind all of that fear and knowing that God has called me and equipped me for motherhood one day. That, nothing is wrong or anything like that. But it's like already, like I already sense that fear of like starting a family and all of this stuff that can go wrong in my age.
And we see countless times in the Bible where women are having babies at later age, and then even translating it to now, like there's people having kids at 60 years old.
Right.
That's a lot. That is a lot. But I'm just trying to make the point that it's possible. Anything is possible.
Online too, like a lot of mothers that started late in pregnancy, like I've been seeing, mothers start at 40, 41. And that's because of how, medicine has changed, technology has changed, life has changed. People have been later in their careers or for personal other reasons why they started later. But that's been like that thing for me, like, just being like newly married, and it's like, okay, now it's like starting to transition into family planning and all this stuff is going in my head. It's like, you are not 21 now. Like you are seasoned. Pun intended.
I think it's important that we're making sure that we're keeping our like health up, like making sure that we're exercising, making sure we're eating the right things. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're using the time that we are not pregnant or the time that, we're doing other things, I think that would be great if we can make sure that we're exercising. We're going outside, getting 15 minutes a day of vitamin D, natural vitamin D. We're drinking water. We're eating healthy things. All of those things are going to help regulate the body so that when it's time, we're good to go.
There's one thing that my husband says all the time. Like he says, like sometimes we are so spiritually up there that we're like no earthly good. And it's like really taking God's wisdom and his resources that he has given to us here on earth, and combining and applying those two. So sometimes we like to discredit medicine and discredit vitamins and everything else, but it's like, okay, God has given us those resources to equip us so that way we can figure out what's going on. We can apply those two things together to make it happen, you know, and so on and so forth. So it's very important, you know, to, as women, that we take care of all cylinders of ourselves when it comes to like the physical and so on and so forth.
I just wanted to put a plug in here because I'm very passionate about people with PCOS, because it's very common and a lot of it goes undiagnosed. So if you're watching, and where's my camera? My camera's here. Right here. If you're watching and you have irregular periods, if you're like balding in areas that men usually bald, if you have excess hair up under your chin and your neck, there's so many different things. If you feel like your testosterone is high, I would definitely see an endocrinologist. And like Vanessa said, when you go to the PCP, they don't know a lot about hormonal things. No. Like, so for PCOS, at the PCP, they only test 2 hormones, and that's not enough. So if you're feeling any of those symptoms, I would definitely go to the endocrinologist, because they're going to take a whole hormone panel. So it could be one of probably about 30 different things, but at least, you know, you'll have that to go off of. So I would definitely, especially if your periods are irregular, because if your periods are irregular, that means you're not ovulating. And if you're not ovulating, when you want to have a child, you are not going to have a child, because you need to ovulate. So just like we're all saying, get your body together now. Like, make sure you're doing that prep time. I think I heard you just say a while ago, like you were listening to somebody and they were saying, like, if you're planning to have a baby next year, take 6 months. To really get
clean
your
up
body,
your health, get active, do your blood work, all that stuff. So that way you actually really prep your body. Folate acid. Because that's very vital in the development.
Make sure that you're together so that the child will also
have
be.
A place.
Can we talk about this? Is not off topic. This is on topic. Like, the foods that we eat are very important, and y'all know me. I'm the person that like reads all of the labels, because I have to be like low carb, low sugar because of my PCOS. And the things that we used to eat back in the day, my parents are always like, oh, well, you grew up on that, you're fine. But I found that a lot of the things that we ate back in the day, like Fruit Loops and Doritos and stuff like that, those same ingredients are not the ingredients now. So what they're doing is, because things are more expensive, instead of having the ingredient, they create the ingredient because it's cheaper. So now all of these chemicals are going into your body. So I love when people say, oh, well, you know, I was raised on that, I'll be fine. Girl, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. You have to be vigilant, because the US of A and the FDA, they approving everything. A lot of the things that are approved in the FDA in the US are banned in other places.
I saw that. I saw that.
So we have to make sure that we're looking at labels. I'm not saying look at every label, because I'm that person that looks at every label, but y'all don't have to do that. But just like quickly scanning through to see, like, okay, how many of these names can I not pronounce? Because if you cannot pronounce it, it's a chemical, and that's how we get chemical imbalances or hormonal imbalances, because the things that we're putting inside of our body, even going to like our cleaning products will throw off your hormones. I had to go through like a whole There's so many things that throw off your hormones. So we have to make sure, especially if you have an imbalance, you have to go that extra mile to make sure that you have everything, you know, cohesively.
That's right. And
That's
I
really
did
good.
notice, like at the start of the year, I usually do like a Daniel's fast. And when it was time for me to break my fast and introduce the foods that I would customarily eat, I noticed that my body had a different reaction. Like, it was just so sensitive to all of the chemicals and all of the things that aren't like the processed foods and stuff like that. So I think paying attention to how you feel when you eat something makes a world of difference. Because there are things that I can't drink. I can't drink a lot of sodas, a lot of juices because of the sugar and whatever else is in it. So you have to pay attention to what you're ingesting in your body.
And watch your body too. Like, if you have acne, it's hormonal. If you eating all that sugar and pimples coming up,
inflammation
is a good one. Inflammation is connected to a lot of different things.
Inflammation is key to tell you a lot of things that are triggering and going on in your body.
Yeah. And even in Proverbs, it says, so glorify God in your body. So the things that we're eating, if it's harming our body, we're not giving glory to God. We're not honoring God with the things that we're eating and ingesting in our bodies, or even drinking. If we're drinking to get drunk, then definitely we're not honoring our bodies.
How do y'all feel about the people that are doing the mukbangs?
I was just gonna say that.
We're definitely glorifying gluttony.
Yeah.
It's just no way. I see it all. I'm looking at these videos. I'm like, I don't think you guys understand like the health implications that you guys are putting your body through in the long run.
Yeah.
The high caloric intake that you are taking in one sitting.
Yeah.
The saturated fat, the trans fat, the sodium.
Especially the seafood boils.
Right.
Sodium.
The sodium, like, you guys are doing this for content, but not knowing like this is going to affect you in the long run. Like we are literally glorifying gluttony, and it is not okay. That is literally like
one of the deadly sins.
Like that you are literally harming your body, and that is not good for your health at all.
Yeah, there's a well-known YouTuber. Her name is Beloved, and she was the one that like originated the seafood boils.
Yeah,
she went through like a season of her life where she said she was making. I don't want to lie, but she was making like millions of dollars per episode.
Yeah.
And so she felt like she had to do it. But when she went to the doctor, obviously there was a decline in her health. High cholesterol, high blood pressure.
I'm sure.
She had gained a whole bunch of weight, and they were like, you're on target to have a heart attack real soon.
Wow.
And so she kind of had to change her content to be a little bit healthier. So now she'll do like different things. But for the people that need the money, they're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do it. I don't care how my health is. But you have to think about your health. Because baby, you can't enjoy that money if you're gone.
And I also wanted to pinpoint to what you're saying. If you're thinking about doing it only for the money, I'm learning now that there are a lot of people in today's age, not Beloved's time, but now, who are actually faking the mukbangs. They're putting in their mouth, fake chewing and throwing it, spitting it out. And so they're deceiving you to think that I'm eating all this food. You're enticed. You go do the same thing for real. The whole time they didn't even eat half of that meal.
That's not what society does.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
It just appears like one thing, and it's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
And there's so many people watching that, like you said, think that it's real.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to do it.
Right.
Wow.
Just harming themselves.
So they don't be eating the whole thing.
No. Like when they do their editing of the clip, it looks like they're actually eating the full thing, but in reality they're not.
No.
They're just recording the bites.
Yeah.
They're like half of a chew.
Exactly.
And they're spitting it out the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So when they put everything together, it looks like they actually finished
They ate
it,
a
but
whole thing.
they never finished the whole thing.
Wow. That's interesting.
So be careful, because we're being deceived out here to think that gluttony is cool. They're not even doing it to themselves for real.
It's crazy. But one of the things I did, I used to have a lot of pain, like menstrual pain. And that was something I struggled and suffered from since I started my cycle. And literally middle school, anytime I would have to go home. I was miserable, nosebleeds, I will fall over. It was so bad. And it wasn't until I got older and I was very intentional on who my physicians were. So I wanted Black women doctors.
Yeah.
So I made sure I got a Black woman doctor. And the first thing that she said was, because I realized I had fibroids. We found out I had fibroids, and she was like, okay, you have to get those removed. And she gave me a professional, a specialist. I went to the specialist, and she was talking, and my mouth was like on the floor. I was like, how do you know that? She had just had like a PhD in periods. Like, it was insane. She was so knowledgeable, and nobody has ever like spoken so eloquently and had so much insight on a period ever. So she explained why there was pain and what it could be and all of those things. And long story short, I had a procedure where it killed off the source of the fibroids. So now I don't have any pain. And like, I think we just have to be advocates of ourselves and educate ourselves, because you might not run into a professional who's going to say, no, I know exactly what this is and I know where you need to go. So you really have to advocate for yourself. And in that journey, even before I got the procedure done, I started eating differently, right? I've been pescatarian for 7 years. And it was just on a humbug. Like, I stopped eating meat one day and I was like, I felt good. And I realized that the pain was just a little bit better. So I stopped doing that. I stopped perming my hair because the pain was just a little bit better. And just being more cognizant of like what you're ingesting makes a world of difference in how you feel.
Right.
And I'm really big on how I feel. I'm really in tune with that. So I want to make sure that anything that I do, anything that I put in my body doesn't make me feel bad.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I'm sensing that when the girls watch this video, a lot of them are going to have no idea like all of this can be a resource. Yeah. I know a friend, shout out to Shirley if you're watching. I know she's watching, but she deals with fibroids and cysts. Fibroids and cysts are horrible, especially depending on the size of them. Yeah. And she had one or a couple of them, I can't remember, but one of them was very large to the point where she looked like she was pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah. Right. And so she went and, you know, they told her, you know, what it was or whatever. And she's not big on taking medication or surgeries and things like that. But it got to the point where her iron was so low because the fibroid was sucking the life out of her that she ended up in the hospital. Yeah. And her iron was so low. They were like, I don't know how you're walking around. Like you're working, you could drop at any time. Yeah. And so just imagine all the girls that don't know that they have fibroids and cysts just walking around. It's important to get checked before you be out here on the ground.
And fibroids are number one in Black women.
Oh yeah. If you wake up and you're still tired, if you're always cranky, I was cranky for like a very large part. I'm naturally cranky. But I was cranky. I was tired all the time.
More extra than usual.
A little extra. It was a lot of sauce on it. But I was always tired, and it was because I was vitamin D, vitamin deficiency. So it makes a difference.
Yeah,
it makes a huge difference. And when you're deficient in those areas, it's killing the other organs in your body. Right. So you could just say, oh, I got fibroids and live with it. Yeah. But you're also hurting the other organs in your body.
Right. Yeah, vitamins are really important. And that's also going back to you have to go to the doctor because you won't know what you're deficient in unless you go to the doctor. But making sure that you're supplementing because, boy, we know we done had Rona. Y'all better build your immune system up, okay, out here with the people.
So what I'm hearing is that like information is very important. Getting that information, knowing where to look, knowing the questions to ask. That's one thing that sis always told me. Write down your questions, girl. Knowing the questions to ask. And I'm also hearing that community, sisterhood is important because just like how we're sitting here having these conversations, you can pick up so much that you did not know before just from having this conversation. And it'll spark you to go look into this thing. Oh, I am lethargic all the time. Let me go see. And you can talk to a sister, a cousin, a friend. And that's you kind of forming your community. Who do you go see? Who do you trust?
That's good, sis.
And you can find your doctor that way. That's how I got referred to my doctor is just through community, just talking to other women. Like, where do you guys go? Yeah. And I found one that worked for me.
I like this segue because physical health is obviously important. We just spent so much time talking about it. But also mental and emotional health is important too. So how can we make sure that our emotional health is up to par as well?
Oh my goodness. With emotional health, I hate to always just give. So I'm gonna give this answer first, and I'm gonna try to give you some earthly ways. But take it to God. That's what I'm gonna say first. And what I mean by that is that like if you're a person that is like easily angered or easily agitated or anything ticks you off, or even like you cry like really easily. I'm not talking about over the things of God, but just like anything sets you off. You're unable to carry your emotions. I would suggest therapy.
For sure.
I was going to say, I think one of the great ways to take care of your mental and emotional health is coupling it with therapy. And I literally saw something the other day. Also, you also have to pray about who your therapist is because sometimes your therapist won't actually have your best interests at heart. Yeah. And sometimes that therapist needs therapy too. Right. So, of course, you know, sometimes maybe that first therapist might not be the one right away. You might have to vet through a couple. But I also say, if you want to looking to take care of your emotional and mental health is seeking a therapist and asking the Lord what therapist is perfect for you. And also too, I would also say going back to what you said earlier, it's just a community or a couple of people that you can actually confide in. So that way you're able to, as the Bible says, like seek wise counsel. And that way they're able to talk you through it and help you regulate your emotions and what you're feeling. And women, we go through emotions all the time. Like, we're emotional beings. There's different season that brings up different types of emotions in us, and just having like that band of women that we can know, we can go through, that we can talk to, if you, depending on what season you're in, whether it be motherhood, career wise, whatever it is, that you can, you know, speak through it and together as well too.
And for the people that don't have the strongest relationship with God, I would say in order to keep yourself, you know, strong, I would plug into a church.
Yes,
because
that's
if you don't have the strongest relationship with God, you probably don't have people around you that can pour into you. So I would get plugged into a church, and through church you can serve and you're able to find people and mentors and stuff like that. Yeah, there's different ways that you can plug into community if you don't have that community around you. If you're the only person in your friend group that wants to know Jesus, then that means it's time for you to
switch it up.
I
just want to add to that. One thing that really helped me when I was like transitioning through emotions and everything like that, don't underestimate the power of journaling. I am a journaler.
That's really
and
good.
I write down everything I'm feeling, pages full of tears. But when I get up from the journaling, a lot of times I feel relieved. I feel like, okay, it's in God's hands. Now I feel like I kind of left it there. So you can always start there. If you don't feel like you know anyone, you can confide in.
Write it down. You said that you save your journals, right? These are things that you can look back on and see how far that you've come.
Yes. I remember I have a journal not too long ago I was looking at before I got married. So this is before 6 years. I was looking at it and I remember praying for God to prepare me and for God to make me more this and make me more that from my husband who I hadn't even met yet. So you can look back at these things and be like, oh my gosh, I remember when I, you know, and that was like the biggest thing in my life at the time. And now
I really love that because a lot of times we get discouraged. Like, you know, I was supposed to be here and I'm not here, or, you know, I'm supposed to have this big job, but that's great that you're able to look back and like, I might not have done this, but I've been through all of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and look how God has done.
Look how he's taken me out of that situation too. There's a lot of that going on. Yeah. So journal.
Yeah. But I think it's also important to not be consumed with your body and your outward appearance and neglecting your spirit, man. So just making sure that we are staying in the word and really leaning on God in all of our seasons. And like you said, if you don't have that community and if you're not seasoned, just getting in a good Bible-based church.
Yeah, and that's good because in Proverbs 31, none of them are physical attributes.
No.
Right. And I think that a lot of times because society has put like the spotlight on you have to be beautiful, you have to be, you know, like wabam, like this.
Bim, bim, bow.
Like those are the things that are important. But according to the Bible, those things are not important. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I think it was at 1 Peter, I think it was 1 Peter or 2 Peter. Anyways, it's somewhere in Peter where he says like, you know, like outward beauty fades away, but inner beauty lasts. And that's what as women that we need to focus on. Like, how is my heart? Like, how is my attitude? How do I approach people? Like, am I beautiful inside? So that way it flex outwardly. So it's really taking care of the inside, like Vanessa said, like the spiritual aspect of yourself. Like, are you plugged into the Lord? Are you spending time with him? Are you growing in him? Are you reading your word? Are you praying? Are you fasting? It's really continually asking the Lord to search your heart, because the heart is very deceitful, but always doing that inner work so that way it can reflect outwardly.
Another scripture that really supports what everyone is saying is 1 Timothy 4 chapter 8. It says that physical training is good, but training for godliness is much better, promising benefits in this life and the life to come. So that's just supporting everything that you guys have already said.
And I always like people that are just so sold out for God. There's a certain glow about them.
Amen. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So you don't have to worry about getting a BBL and looking like the next person, because those things, like you just said, those are all going to fade away. And if you do decide to do those things, do them like for you. Don't do them for other people. You know what I'm saying? And just keeping your eyes focused on God. I wanted to add, like, I love journaling. Also music. Listening to worship music. I just feel like that shifts it shifts my spirit. Like if I'm having a bad day, or if I don't feel like I'm mentally strong, I can cut on some worship music and get that thing in my spirit and I feel so much better. And I think that a lot of people identify with music. And I think that it's important, since we're talking about music, that you watch what you listen to. Because a lot of times we wonder why we are upset. We wonder why we have an attitude. We wonder why
with the way we look.
Yes. And it could simply be the things that we're allowing our spirit to consume.
Absolutely. Exactly. Prayer is also another great way to help with your emotions and with your mental as well too. Just really crying out to God, like when you speaking of Hannah earlier, like she cried out to the Lord so much so that they thought she was crazy. They thought she was drunk. It's really crying out to the Lord in your secret place, in those moments of where, Lord, I don't understand, Lord, what is going on? Like, Lord, I need your help. I need your strength. And he is close, as the Bible says, he is close to the brokenhearted. And it's a great way to just relieve your stress, your emotions, your anger, whatever you're feeling. It's a great way to just help you get back in tune with your emotions and back on the right track mentally.
Proverbs 3 says, joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up bones.
That's one of my favorite verses. Yeah.
So that for me just says that we have to focus on like the good of things. Like we're listening to things that are glorifying hate, glorifying anger, and like it's cute for a woman to have an attitude. It's cute for these things, but it's joy in the Lord that really like lifts us up, makes us feel better, and it's really good medicine.
And I think also Jess said praying, but also incorporating fasting, especially if you're feeling like you're not in alignment or something is wrong or you're unsure about something, or you feel like you're praying and God is not answering you. He probably answering you, but maybe your spirit isn't strong enough to accept or hear what he's saying. I think that fasting is a really good way to come back into alignment. I think that we're all called to fast and pray at some point.
Yes.
And just like we said with the mukbangs and the gluttony, I think it's important to remember that sometimes on social media, we see a lot of people portraying a certain lifestyle and they get certain results. They look amazing, but we have to remember that sometimes they're taking these opportunities to deceive us, right? They got some work done and they came back out and now they're chiseled and they're perfectly, and they're lifting up a dumbbell curl, and you think this is what they did to get that body. Be genuine to yourself, balance yourself. What I've learned in my journey on becoming like more healthy, like physically fit and, losing weight and things like that, is that I cannot compare myself to the next person who's able to drop 5 pounds in 2 days. I have to do the 15 minutes a day, like sis said, until I can do 30 minutes a day. Then I can do 4. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a journey. It doesn't stop tomorrow. It doesn't stop once I get that figure. It's a continuous thing. It's all about balance and maintaining your health. That's good, sis,
because what I'm hearing is you shouldn't be exercising to look a certain way. You should be exercising because our body is the temple, and we want to make sure.
There we go.
I love that.
There we go. Right.
I love that, because social media is not a real place.
No, it's not.
Like the way that people are able to change, like the way that they look, their face, like social media is not a real thing. And I pray for the girls, because there are so many young girls, and I'm not just talking about in their 20s. I'm talking about like teenagers that are looking and saying, I look nothing. They ain't even fully developed yet, but they're like, I don't look like that. How can I look like that? And so they're growing up idolizing what they can look like, instead of saying, you know what, this is how God made me. And I'm going to make sure that I do the best that I can with what he's given me, and know that that's enough.
And being kind to ourselves. Because if we're fearfully and wonderfully made, then why aren't we acknowledging that? Why aren't we pleased with what God created? So we have to be kind to ourselves.
And we're not saying that it's easy, because I know that there are days, there's a lot of days that come and I wake up and I'm like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. But I think that affirmations are also important. Like when we wake up, the first thing that we should do is we should pray and put on the full armor of God, so that we're able to withstand the attacks of the enemy, but then also speaking life into ourselves. Like, I am worthy, I am beautiful, like all of the affirmations that you can find in the Bible, so that you're like ready to run through a wall.
I don't hold you. That's right. Like when I get dressed, I have a mirror in my house, so I go to the mirror and I compliment myself.
That's
like
good.
That's
I
good.
say the things that I think people are going to say about me because like if I look good, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, girl, you look good. Like
Yeah.
I will say all of those things because
Right.
if no one says it to me, I said it
It
to
don't matter
myself.
because you're
Yeah.
just yourself. It's
That's
like
I'm
right.
already feeling me.
Right,
That's
right,
all
right,
right.
right. Their compliment is just a cherry on
Yeah,
top.
that's
Yeah.
it. No one
Yeah.
says anything
Yeah.
to me.
Right.
I know I look good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think sometimes if you're always looking for compliments, and that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day, but that
Right.
could be an identity issue.
Oh, for
Right.
sure. I don't go anywhere to be affirmed. I looked in that mirror already.
Yeah,
Amen.
exactly.
Yeah. We know that we are enough in
Right.
Christ Jesus. We ain't got to
Right.
worry about what anybody else
Right.
thinks. And I think that that's important for the girls that are
Yeah.
like wanting to do content creation and YouTube and they only get 2 likes and they think it's because of something that they're doing. Girl, keep on posting the content.
Right.
Keep on doing what you're doing. If God has called you for a specific reason or a specific purpose, just do it because
Right.
God's going to get the glory in the end.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This has been good, y'all. Anybody want some last thoughts?
No, I think we're
If you
good.
guys have any questions on the resources, the physician that I seen, I'll put it in the chat.
No, you know
Just
what? I like
ask.
that.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I like that. So we're definitely going to, even if it's not like our personal doctors, we're definitely going to make sure that we add some resources in the description. Even
like
if it's
that.
like a directory, like
Yeah.
they have a Black therapist
Black therapist
directory.
guide, yeah,
we're gonna
they
put
do.
the we're gonna put the links in there to make sure the girlies are getting the
And
resources
let us
that
know
they
in the
need.
comments, how are you showing up for yourself? How
Yeah.
how are you showing up for yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, just your overall well-being? Help a sister out. You never know. They can lean and learn from you. So let us know in
Yeah.
the comments.
And
Yeah.
don't forget, you can testify too if you've already overcome something.
Amen.
Maybe
Yes, share your
once believing God
testimonies.
for a baby
Yes.
for 6+
Yes.
years and it came. So maybe you can
Yes,
share that because
encourage
testimonies
another
are
person. Yeah.
encouraging. There we
And
go.
if you're going through a tough time, just know that God sees you.
Yeah.
And He
Amen.
hasn't forgotten about you.
Amen.
And all of the
Yes.
promises that He said, if He promised it, if He said it, that means it's going to be so.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Make
Period.
sure, if you haven't already, make sure that you follow us on YouTube
Yes.
and all of our
Yes.
social media platforms. We're so excited. I feel like we're like, Jess said we have to have 100 episodes to be legit. But
Yeah,
I
we
kinda
do.
I feel in my spirit that we legit already.
We
I'll
legit
take-
already?
I'll take the
okay. You know, what happened?
Say the 4.
The four. Okay. So we making some traction.
Yeah,
We're making some
already.
traction. All
All
right.
right,
Improvements.
y'all. Until the next episode, we love you.
Bye.
Stay in that Bible.
Somebody got to say it.